I told her I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again, and then I hung up. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Gray in Between, where we explore the stories that thrive in the space between right and wrong, clear and confusing. I'm your host Lola, and together we'll dive into the captivating tales from Meta and beyond, where life's most complicated moments take center stage. In a world that's rarely black and white, let's navigate the in-betweens, offering fresh perspectives, thoughtful advice, and plenty of heart. So get comfortable and let's journey through the gray together. All right, guys, so this is a two-part story, and he gives us his original post, and then he also has an update. He says, my daughter just contacted me after 17 years asking if I want to meet my granddaughter. Am I the asshole for telling her I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again? Ooh, that last part is a little unwarranted, but we'll see if it really was. I'm in my 60s now. I was married to my ex-wife and we had our daughter. Our marriage was going through its ups and downs, but I was really close with our daughter. But as our marriage was going through its difficulties, I made a huge mistake I still regret to this day. I started having an affair with my coworker. She was in a violent, physically abusive relationship at home. We became friends at work and things just escalated from there. She got an out from me and she got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who is currently in jail now. The affair went nowhere and we called it off shortly after. But I was glad that she got off her abusive relationship and that she was safe. But when my then ex-wife found out about the affair, things expectedly didn't go well. She lashed out and said a lot of horrible things about me to our daughter, who was 15 at the time. I admitted full fault with the affair, but even after the divorce, I sensed that the distance between me and my daughter was growing, until one day my daughter said she wasn't going to speak with me anymore, and she was going to cut me off from her life forever. That was the most painful thing anyone had ever said to me. I begged her to please reconsider, and I still remember that day. But time passed on. My daughter kept her word, and after trying to connect with her for the first year, I gave up. I found out from one of my mutual friends that my ex-wife married a great guy. I was happy because I was hoping that would remove the hatred from my ex-wife, and my ex-wife would advise our daughter to at least rekindle a relationship with me. That never happened. I moved states a year later. I am at peace now, but still have some aching sadness. I have retired. Both my parents have passed away. My brother passed away tragically a couple of years ago. To be honest, I'm just waiting for my turn. I only have my dog and my sister left. Oh my god, he never remarried either. A couple of hours ago, my daughter called me on the phone. I haven't spoken to her in 17 years. I instantly recognized her voice, but I didn't feel anything. No happiness, no sadness, just indifference. She was crying a lot on the call, and we caught up on life. She's married and she has a daughter who's now 12. She apologized for cutting off contact, and she says her mother asked her to reconnect with me as her mom felt guilty about how everything played out. She said she really wanted me to meet her daughter, and her daughter was constantly asking about her granddaddy. But I wasn't feeling anything. After we caught up on everything in our life, I told her I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again, and then I hung up. Was I the asshole? Yeah, what the hell? Okay, let me deep dive into this, okay? In these types of situations, right, I am a firm believer that if this were to happen, right, to someone I love or to myself, may God forbid, I would want to keep my kids out of it. If my spouse was a great father and he did me wrong, I would want to maintain that image for my children. Because I believe in that two-parent household and I don't ever want to make my kids hate their father because of what he did to me, which happens to a lot of us. We find out ways that the fathers treat their mothers and we have this hate for that person, but we have to separate. I think we have to separate how that person was as a father versus as a husband. We don't get to pick who our parents are, right? You picked a bad spouse. That's on you, right? But as a child, we don't have any say in who our parents are going to be. So I would hope that, like in that situation, I think it's wrong for her mom. No matter how hurt you are, you should have protected your daughter away from any of that bullshit. I would not confide in my 15-year-old daughter about her father's affair. That's what therapy is for. That's what my sister is for. I don't have to use my child for that. I'm hurt because as a wife, I'm hurt. But I think you should protect your child from ruining their life with having their father in their life. And I think the mom played a huge part in that, which is wrong. I really think that's wrong. You ripped your daughter away from the chance to have a father in her life. And the only reason why now she's going back to me is because you said that, because she held your word to a high standard and she saw you hurt and she didn't want to, disrespect you or hurt you by being in contact with her dad. Now, to his response, that is actually why would you say that to her? Better late than never. You've missed her so much. You love her so much. You can say now it's too late. You just said you're so lonely. Why would you not want to take this opportunity to at least, sure, it's never going to be the same, but at least you have some sort of relationship with your daughter and your granddaughter. What is the update about? Look, I was extremely drunk last night. Okay, that's why you responded like that. The words which came out of my mouth weren't the best, and my comment on my post weren't great either. Seeing how everyone said I was the asshole, I decided to call my daughter again an hour ago. I didn't really expect her to pick up the call, but she picked up immediately. I apologized for last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. I then sent her a link to this Reddit post on messages and told her I know I was the asshole, and thousands said so. She again said I wasn't the asshole, and she started crying again. I told her she's free to come to my house anytime in the next 4 months, because after that I will be leaving the country with my sister and our dog. Our parents left us a nice farmhouse in their home country, and we will be spending the rest of our lives there. I sent her my address, and my daughter said she'd come with her husband and her daughter by the end of the week. She asked if she was welcome to stay there for multiple days, and I told her she could stay for however long she wanted, as our house was spacious enough. So then he does have another update where he says, I have moved to the farmland, and I'm looking forward to spending the rest of my life here with my dog and my sister. It is peaceful and scenic. My daughter did come by to visit me with her husband and her daughter before I left the country. It was really nice seeing my granddaughter, who looked a lot like her mom. They stayed over at our place for a week and we had a good time. However, it got a little sad when I told my daughter in private I had no interest in being a grandfather and just didn't have strong emotions for it. I think those words really stung her, and my daughter did cry a lot after I said those words. My daughter wanted to rekindle our relationship, but it's just too late now. I told my daughter she's free to visit me in the farmland anytime she wants to, and the house is always open, but I doubt she'll be visiting anytime soon. The week she stayed over at my place before I left the country was a final goodbye for us. She has my number, but she hasn't called or texted since she left, and I haven't called or texted her either. What the hell? How can you say you don't want to play a part of a grandfather but you come visit me anytime? She's not asking you to take care of her children. She's asking for just have an open communication line. Have, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, ho ho, whatever, Happy Birthday, like that. Going from zero contact to like at least a little bit. I don't understand what was the whole point of your post if you were very adamant on never speaking to her again. Are you just venting? Well, no shit, she's not going to call or text you. You straight up told her that you don't want to be a part of her life. You don't want to be a grandfather. Why would she text you? I don't understand. You made it this way. Okay, yeah, it's later. It's 17 years later. Okay, but that's still your child. You said you've loved her as much as you do. You should still have a reason to want to see her and not just be so cold-hearted and gosh, damn, you just made yourself a bigger asshole than you initially were for cheating. The time my girlfriend dumped me for my friend. So this happened over a decade ago. I was in my mid-20s, and at the time it happened, no one really asked for all the details. I just gave everyone the short story. So I have not told the story to that many people. Thought I would share it here, as I think it is a pretty good revenge story in the end. Me and my ex-girlfriend were together for almost 5 years. We lived together for about 3. She was like the perfect daughter, except she was pretty lazy and could not hold a job. What do you mean perfect daughter? Don't you mean perfect girlfriend? Perfect daughter. The last year of our relationship was obviously pretty bad, very rocky, and to be honest, just boring. But we decided we would stick together. I even bought an apartment for us. Since I was the only one with an income, I was the only one who paid for it. This is how it ended. Friday, I come home from work, greet my ex-girlfriend, chat about the day, have a shower. After the shower, I get dressed and go grab a cold beer from the fridge. I sit down by my PC and it does not even have time to boot up, and I hear, "Babe, are you happy?" I'm not happy. I asked, "Happy? Yeah, I feel pretty good, blah blah. What do you mean?" I knew what she meant. She tells me that she has thought about it and already made up her mind and she wants out of the relationship. At this point, I have no more fight in me. She has made up her mind. This is obviously happening. So we have a talk about it for about 2 hours. The talk went really well. She pretty much agreed on everything I said. I was right about everything and so on. Being broken up with sucks, but this time it was the easiest. So I thought we were on the exact same page about how we were going to deal with the breakup and move forward. I even told her I would not kick her out of the apartment. I would let her live in the apartment rent-free since she was unemployed until she finds a new place. And I told her I don't want her to take whatever place she gets offered. I want her to move to a place or area she feels safe in and actually will enjoy living in. Like I mentioned, she agreed. Said that everything I said seemed reasonable. The breakup talk went really smooth. She tells me she'll be staying at my mother's place over the weekend so we could get some space. My mother was out of town at that time. Once my ex-girlfriend left, I called up my friend and told him what just happened. He told me to come to his place first thing in the morning. We could go grab some breakfast, do something fun, and take my mind off of things. Saturday, I went over around noon to my friend's place. We had some deep talks. He joked about a bunch of silly stuff my ex had said or done over the years and was trying to keep my mind off of the breakup. To sum up the day, this of course for some reason ended up with us getting wasted and throwing a big party at my friend's place. I had a really good time actually, and I was about to text my ex-girlfriend in the middle of the night, something like, "I'm really glad we were at least dealing with this breakup like adults, being upfront and all, you still are my best friend." But I actually erased it before I sent it and did not send her a single text. I come home from the party sometime early Sunday morning, like 6 to 7 in the morning. I noticed there seems to be things missing from the apartment, books and curtains. but my still drunk mind does not really process this, so I just go to bed. Sunday, I wake up in the afternoon and can now clearly see things are missing. I start going through stuff, and at some point I panic, and like the hipster I am, I look at my vinyl collection. I flip through the records, and as I suspected, one record was gone. It was a signed copy of a record I bought from the artist himself after a concert. It was even signed, "Best of Luck and Take It Easy, Riff Grinder." So it has my name on it. I try to call her, she will not answer the phone. I call my mother in case she would have been in touch with her. I call her sister to ask if she had heard anything from her, but no, other than the fact that we broke up. About an hour later, I get a call from my mother. She managed to get in touch with my ex-girlfriend, and it turns out that she never stayed at my mom's place. She had been spending the whole weekend, let's call him Mike, at Mike's place. Now, at the time, Mike was a friend of mine. A pretty good friend too, I thought. The revenge part. I text my ex-girlfriend that I'm happy to see you found a new place to live so quick. Since you obviously don't need me anymore, I thought I will pack up the remaining stuff you forgot to pick up during the night while I was away. If you are not here in 2 hours, I will just leave it outside on the sidewalk for you. Almost those exact words, but in Swedish, since I'm Swedish. Of course, she called me up a minute later. She was in panic, said she can't make it in 2 hours as she needs to find a van or something that can fit all of her stuff. She even asked me if I knew somebody who had a van we could borrow. I told her to get a rental, and in 2 hours the stuff will be nicely packed up and waiting for her outside, and hung up. I then proceeded to actually pack her stuff, and she had a lot of stuff. At some point, I find her old MacBook in her closet. All of the places she had not used this computer in 2 years, but I could see the little LED light glowing, indicating it was charged. I opened the laptop, and to my surprise, a Facebook page opens. She was logged into a fake account she had made with one conversation in her chat history. Mike, dating back several months. I could not read it at the time. I was torn up and angry. I just scrolled to the first message to see it was like 4 to 5 months earlier than they had been chatting through her fake profile. It was very clear from the messages I did read they had initiated a secret relationship and pretty much planned the breakup together. My thing is, why you find someone else you like? Why wait so long? Just break up with them. Why 2 times? I don't ever understand that logic. I managed to retrieve her login details, and I call up her sister and give her the details and asked her if she wants to know why we broke up. She can just read the chat logs. I also asked her sister not to confront my ex-girlfriend about the chat logs until I had a chance to speak to her about it first. And she informs me she can't read the chat by herself as she feels so embarrassed about her own sister, so she drove to her parents' place to read it together with their mother. Even better, I stopped packing up my ex-girlfriend's stuff after I found the chat. When my ex-girlfriend arrives at my place, she was expecting her stuff nicely packed up for her. But instead, the first thing she sees is the laptop on the ground in the hallway, with the conversation open. Her face goes pale. I then tell her that as we speak, her sister and her mother is currently reading through the chat logs, and I tell her to pack up her own stuff by herself. She did. It took her like 5 hours or so, and I just sat on the couch observing her. When I closed the door behind her after she grabbed the last box, I blocked her everywhere, and I've never seen her since. I forgot to mention that I did get the record back when she came back to pack up the stuff. So you all can rest easy. No records were hurt. I still have it. So he does say a little bit, someone asks, I hope you dealt with Mike. And he says, I just blocked him everywhere. I actually did run into him in a bar almost a year after this happened. He asked me if I wanted to have a talk. I just looked him dead in the eye and said there is not a single thing I want to hear from him or say to him. And then I walked away. I was not going to risk spending a night in jail over this dude. I personally love that kind of response. Very much like, I know a lot of people would want to just like beat his ass, right? Me included. But the best thing to do is just block him everywhere and move on like this person never existed in your life. They're not worth the effort, the time. Never a friend to begin with. There's nothing to salvage there. You did not care about me an ounce if you were to go behind my back and try to cheat with my girlfriend. What could we talk about? Absolutely nothing. Are you sorry? Don't care. Not sorry enough for me. Can we also like applaud him? Because he was willing to let her live in the house, get situated. Why is she unemployed? Didn't touch upon that, but that's really nice of you. I'd be like, get out right now. You handled that with class and maturity that not many would be able to do. Kudos to you. After 30 years, I finally exposed my stepsister who made my life a living hell. And now my family knows the truth. I'm a 40-year-old man in a relationship for over 20 years with 2 wonderful daughters under 10 years old. I've managed to build a relatively calm life as a lawyer, but it didn't come easy. For most of my life, I was trapped in a living hell created by my stepsister, who I now call the devil. To give you some background, my biological father died when I was very young, around 5 years old. My mom was left to raise me and my 2 brothers, one younger and one older, on her own. A few years later, she remarried a widower who had a daughter my age. I was around 6 to 8 years old at the time. From the moment our families merged, this girl, my stepsister, decided that my brothers and I had destroyed her life by invading her world. She was hell-bent on ruining us, and her goal was clear: separate her father from my mother so they could live together, just the two of them. She took it upon herself to be my constant tormentor. Now, on the surface, you would never know it. In public, she played the role of a sweet, innocent girl, an absolute angel. But behind closed doors, she was pure evil. She fed her father and my mother lie after lie about me and my brothers, making me out to be some kind of monster. Over time, they completely bought into her stories. Meanwhile, I was left wondering why I was the family pariah. Growing up, I was treated like the black sheep, the evil one. The problem? I never really understood why. I was the only one in the family who didn't receive an allowance, ever. The only one not allowed to drive. The only one who wasn't abroad to study for a year like my brothers. The only one whose friends were not allowed to come to the family house. The one who was constantly beaten. You get the picture. I didn't even get to have a cell phone when all of my peers were getting them in the 90s. I wasn't allowed to go away for weekends with friends, and if I wanted to go out, I had to sneak out because asking for permission was a guaranteed no. Just for laying some dumb examples I can think of right now. Worse, I wasn't even allowed to get a job growing up because they thought it was dangerous for me to have money. When I finally got selected by a very prestigious lawyer to work and learn with him in my second semester of university, I was thrilled. Turned out he was the best at teaching and the worst at paying, so I had no money. When I got a girlfriend, I had no money to take her out because my parents refused to give me any. Asking for the car to go see her at least at the early beginning was a sure fight. The lawyer said to me when he hired me that he needed my commitment for at least 2 years, and I said yes. But after 1 year, my situation was impossible. All day between university, office, courthouse, clients, study, reports, contracts, girlfriends, friends, no money and no support was hard, so I needed a better paying job. I got an offer from another firm and took it out of need. I still remember the face of the first lawyer when I told him. He knew about my situation and he hated my parents, but it is not like he was going to support me either. I never realized what I did until years later. When I finally managed to save enough to buy my own car, I wasn't allowed to park it at home. I don't these type of stories make me so grateful for the parents I had. It makes me so sad for the people who didn't get to enjoy growing up, because that's your kid. At the end of the day, how can you do the blatant discrepancies between raising your kids? Do you want your kids to hate you later on in life? Is that what it was? In the end, I was the only one kicked out of the house. All this time, I was racking my brain trying to figure out why my family treated me this way. Despite countless attempts to expose my stepsister for the manipulative liar she was, no one ever believed me. It was like she had them all under a spell. My family was obsessed with appearances. We had to look perfect on the outside, and any issues within the family were swept under the rug. One of those hidden secrets was that my stepsister had been diagnosed with schizophrenia traits and other psychological disorders. She had even spent a time in an institution, but no one in the family ever talked about it. If they didn't acknowledge it, it didn't exist, right? Drove me insane. Fast forward 30 years, and I've distanced myself from my family for my own sanity. I'm living a peaceful life with my wife and daughters. Meanwhile, the devil is still single at 40, living with and fully supporting a broke 60-year-old divorced man with a 6-year-old daughter. This guy has no money, yet she's chosen to take care of him. It's baffling, but also so on brand for her. About 2 years ago, my mom and stepfather asked me for legal advice about their will and estate planning. They wanted to make sure everything was in order for when they passed away. The relationship between us had become cordial at best, but I agreed to help. Then, as always, the devil found out. She completely lost her mind, accusing my mom of trying to rob her of her inheritance. She claimed that because she was the only real daughter, she should be the sole heir. To her, my brothers and I were nothing but thieves trying to take what was rightfully hers. She swore she would destroy us all, my mom, my brothers, and me. Then things got darker. She started spreading vicious rumors within the extended family. She accused my older brother of abusing her when we were younger, around 20 years ago, and she claimed that I had molested 2 of our own cousins. She even hinted that my own daughters were in danger around me. Naturally, this caused a huge stir, and my step-uncle, the father of one of the cousins I supposedly molested, was ready to kill me. I'm pretty sure the only thing that stopped him was the fact that we live in different countries. At this point, I knew things were about to spiral out of control. Some of my darkest secrets were at risk of being exposed, so I decided to get ahead of it. I took my wife and drove to my parents' house. I sat them down and told them everything. Every embarrassing detail. I told them about my attraction to trans women. My secret kisses with one of the cousins I supposedly molested. We were teenagers and were not even family. We were introduced and told that from now on we were cousins. I mean, come on. Plus, nothing inappropriate ever happened. I told them about my occasional smoking habits, knowing full well how deeply religious my parents are. We're talking Opus Dei level here, so even the mention of weed was a bombshell. So I put out my whole past in front of my parents and wife. Every embarrassing detail, in order for the devil to have no more weapons. This was tough, I'm not gonna lie. I ended up in the hospital a couple of days later, almost dying from pancreatitis due to the toll this took on my body. I laid everything on the table, and to my surprise, they believed me. The devil had tormented them for so long that they finally started to see the truth. They realized that maybe I wasn't the problem after all. It only took them 30 years, right? They asked me what they should do. At this point in my life, I have dealt with my more than fair share of abusers. My dad began before dying when I was 3 to 4 years old. So I tell them that if they really want the truth to come out, they must not engage with her. Let her feel and think that her attacks are not working. We agreed that I will tell all of my brothers and half-brothers about the situation and tell them they have to do the same. I told them not to engage with her. Let her self-destruct. The more we ignore her, the more desperate she would become, and eventually she'd make a mistake without any of us doing anything directly to her, so she cannot play the victim role. Important here also to note that, as you can imagine, nobody outside the immediate family would ever believe us since she has always maintained the impeccable image and never ever had made a mistake. But this time, I just know she will, so we put it in motion. We don't talk to anyone, not even my stepfather's brother who wants to kill me. We deny nothing, we engage in nothing. The devil is constantly saying that she will go public and so, but never does. As it is obvious, because abusers never do, since doing so would cause them to lose that power over you. For 2 years, we didn't engage. We stayed silent. The devil was left ranting and raving to herself. No one responded. No one gave her any attention. I knew it was killing her. Then, 2 weeks ago, one of my stepbrothers got married, and we all attended the wedding. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and the devil assumed my wife and my brother's wife were still in the dark about everything. She thought my brothers were clueless too. She couldn't have been more wrong. At the wedding, no one greeted her. No one acknowledged her broke sugar daddy either. Tons of pictures were taken, but in most of them, she and her boyfriend were conveniently cut out. The next day, she finally snapped and made her first mistake ever. She texted my wife, ranting about how I was a terrible person, a danger to our daughter, saying we will never speak again, telling her about the horrible human being I am, what a limited and treacherous man I am, and offering to tell her the truth about me when she felt strong and ready. She thought she was dropping a nuke into my marriage. My wife, of course, already knew everything. She finally showed all her true colors there out of desperation, putting out part of herself that she never revealed in public before. So obviously, after spending time on Reddit, I know what to do next. I screenshotted that text and sent it to our extended family group chat, the one with all of the cousins, uncles, and everyone else. I finally exposed her after 30 plus years, publicly confronting her and asking her to tell everyone the truth she kept threatening to reveal. She then made her second mistake. She replied in the group chat, totally gaslighting me. She downplayed everything, claiming I was making a big scene and that I was always overreacting, saying how I'm making such a huge scandal as usual, and how I always have been like this, how my reaction is completely unjustified and that I should stop doing shows and performances and grow up. You can imagine the rest. Then she made her third mistake. She texted my wife again, asking her to delete my crazy messages and saying that she only wanted to clear everything up without drama and that there is absolutely no justification for how I acted. I, of course, screenshotted that text too and sent it to the group chat. I told her we would never have a private conversation again and invited her to share her truth with the whole family. I think that's when she fully grasped the concept that she was in the extended family group chat and not in the immediate family chat. Stepfather, mother, and siblings she was used to manipulating. She realized she had just exposed herself in front of the whole family. It's been 2 weeks and the group chat is dead silent. My mom called me afterward and she said, I think I'm realizing I may have been wrong about you for almost your entire life, but you forgive me, right? I don't even know how to respond to that. After 30 years of being the scapegoat, the black sheep, I finally exposed the person who tormented me. It almost cost me everything, but it was worth it. And for the first time in my life, I feel safe. I never realized I didn't know how safe felt. I don't know how to move forward, especially with my family, and them beginning to see me differently for the first time in my life. And also, I'm not sure I even want a deep relationship at this point. Oh my God. One thing that just stuck out to me that I don't like is that the mom said, but you forgive me, right? That's not apologizing. You can't say, wow, I've been wrong about you your entire life. But you forgive me? You have to ask for forgiveness. Gosh, I really cut them all off. Walk away for your own sanity. You have a family and it's not them. Focus on the people that love you. I really don't even understand why you had any contact with these people. I get family, they're your blood. Brothers, okay, but maybe like no one stood up for you growing up. Like why stay connected? Phew, I'm glad you got your revenge, but damn, that was a lot. I torpedoed a dude's entire career because he was a bully. So to preface, I know I'm something of a nepo baby, but it is what it is. My mom is incredibly successful in a very niche but very lucrative field of business. This allowed my dad to be a stay-at-home dad and for me and my siblings to get a good education. When I graduated from college, I decided to go into the same field as my mom. While I love her and our relationship is good, I very much did not want to be only viewed as her kid or receive special treatment due to how well regarded she is. So I used my dad's surname and generally keep who my mom is to myself. I also avoided coming to work for her. Is it because your mom was a breadwinner you guys all took your mom's last name? In my field and country, it's generally accepted that people are hired for a trial period, at the end of which either the employee or the employer can cut ties with, no fines or compensation required. So anyway, I went to work at one company. Again, I'll remind you, very niche market, very few employment opportunities. I went in for my trial period and everyone seemed pretty happy with me. I put out some fires and one superior described me as a workhorse because I'm the first to the office and last out the door. It goes pretty well, except for one colleague in my team. This dude is a huge jerk. I'm a bit of a people pleaser and try to be on good terms with everyone, but jerk will have none of it. Dude is incredibly rude. He keeps being very confrontational. Like if a colleague, not just me, was getting any sort of acknowledgement, jerk would belittle them and their accomplishment. If someone was saying they had a rough time with something, jerk would pop up going, "Oh yeah, I did that a while back. It was super easy." Whenever someone tried talking about future plans with me, jerk would go, "Oh yeah, we'll see about that." He also apparently said some very unkind things about my appearance and masculinity, but those at least he had the decency to say behind my back, I suppose, and I only learned about them later. Like, dude was incredibly mean for apparently no reason except trying to make himself look better by making everyone else look worse. This one thing wasn't true to me specifically because I'm male, but his meanness seemed to apply especially to women. A few comments were about how working in this field isn't for moms and they should be raising kids or whatever, and some other very bad stuff. But management seemed pretty content keeping him around because apparently he was a pretty good worker and they liked that he was ambitious. My trial period ends, I'm offered a permanent position but decide this is not the place for me as I don't love being anybody's workhorse and have very little interest in sticking around in Jerk's vicinity. I respectfully inform them I will not be sticking around and go find work elsewhere. On my last day, I come to say goodbye. Management says they're sorry to see me go. Colleagues wish me well and say they're going to miss me. Jerk goes, I told you weren't going to stick around. Good riddance. Maybe this field isn't for you either. Very loudly. I leave. I'm not very confrontational and I don't have to deal with him anymore, so I just go. Some time goes by and I'm now employed elsewhere. I'm happy and I'm doing well. I love my work and my colleagues. I've been promoted and I don't really think about Jerk anymore, except apparently there's a relative influx of applicants from Jerk's company. My boss knows I did a trial period over there, so whenever an applicant comes up, he asks me about my experience with them. There are very few people I dislike, so when asked, I usually give my honest opinion, which is usually very positive. But guess whose application we suddenly receive? It's Jerk. My boss asks for my opinion and I say, look, I have personal feelings about this person and I can't be objective. Boss, knowing just how positive I usually am about basically everyone, asks me what's up, and eventually I tell him. I tell him everything. Jerk obviously doesn't get hired. I assume that's the end of that. A few days later, we have a family dinner. My mom goes, wait, you had a trial period at that company, right? Do you know Jerk? Well, my mom knew there was a person I really didn't get along with at that company and the shitty things they did. I tell her it was him. Obviously, she ain't gonna hire him either, especially given his views on women. So my company ends up hiring one of Jerk's company's former worker. Me and her are on great terms, and this is how I discovered what happened there. Jerk got promoted and that made a bunch of people want to leave. This caused management to look into why, and why strong applicants were leaving after the trial period was over. Turned out it was Jerk. Someone had a talk with him, and from what I gather, he was not receptive to criticism. He was let go. This is when he applied to the company I work for and to my mom's. Homie made your bed and I'll lay in it. There's one comment that I think everyone should practice and it says, there are some people I connect with on LinkedIn just to make sure I will never need to work with them ever again. That's so smart. What they say, keep your friends close but enemies closer. All right, you guys, it's time for the final part of today's episode, which is the viewer submission, Viewers Corner. So this is where you guys send me all of your stories to read on the pod and get all of our inputs and reactions, especially mine. So here we go. Am I the asshole for calling out my Nana and taking her to court after she just had open heart surgery due to her heart attack? Before I get into the story, here's a backstory. I, 22 female, am an adopted Black and broke college student who is trying to do their best to raise her 8 biological younger siblings. My birth mother was not capable of raising me, so I was adopted at the age of 3. During my childhood, we did not have much contact with my biological mother. All of my siblings prior to COVID were taken away from her at some point in time before their second birthday, and most of our biological fathers were never in the picture because she didn't know them. However, after years of no contact with her, my biological mother, 43, reached out to us. My younger siblings and I were separated for most of my childhood, considering the big gap we all have. A few months ago, my biological Nana, 65, who happens to be an alcoholic, decided to get drunk on Mother's Day and had a heart attack the following day, which led to her getting open heart surgery just recently. Now, let's keep in mind my biological mother has had 10 kids since she was 18 and has lost custody of all 9 of her older children. However, the youngest child who was born during COVID has not been taken out of her care. My baby brother, 3, recently got diagnosed with autism and was nonverbal for a very long time and is on the spectrum. Since then, my brother's speech has improved significantly and is somewhat speaking more clearly. My biological mother and Nana think he is not autistic when the way he sees the world is like an 18-month-old baby sees it. I work with special needs children, specifically with kids who have autism and sensory processing disorders, so I knew immediately my brother needed the extra help to progress in the right direction. Growing up, I always knew my biological mother struggled with addiction and mental health issues, which leads me to believe that the story my baby brother told me is true. Again, I am adopted, so I do not live with them, and I'm a college student, so I do what I can to support my siblings no matter what. A few days ago, when I went to pick up my baby brother, he told me our biological mother beat him up and closed his fist to demonstrate what she was doing to him and hurt his back. So I decided to look at his back, and to my surprise, he was bruised and had knots going down his spine. My Nana was still recovering when this incident happened, and I'm convinced my Nana is scared of my biological mother because she was there and saw with her own eyes when my biological mother beat my brother and did nothing. When my brother told me, I kept my brother in my care for as long as possible and called my Nana out for not trying to control the situation, kicking her daughter out of her house and saying my biological mother never hit him to begin with. Any mother or literally anyone who is sane would fight for their children and their grandchildren no matter how much they are in pain. Words were said, hands were thrown, and everything went left. Because my biological mother is on drugs and she doesn't even remember hitting him and claims I'm lying on her and that my brother was just playing with markers and her makeup. Since then, my brother has not been back to my house, but he's being well taken care of by what he calls his real mama. She has filed a petition to get temporary custody of my brother until I graduate soon. We go to court in October. I do not feel bad about how I reacted to my biological mother at all, but as far as my Nana goes, am I the asshole for going off on my Nana and putting my hands on her as well because she's not done recovering from her heart surgery and heart attack? Oh my God. Can I just say, out of everything I read, like, it's just so, you just feel guilty for fighting with your grandma. I need to process. This is like a very, very heavy story, and it's like understandable that you're grappling with so many intense emotions like anger and like responsibility and deep concern for your siblings. And it's like really honorable to see you want to take care of them all, and you're so young, especially your little brother. You made it really clear that you care deeply for them and that you sacrifice a lot to protect them, especially considering the challenges that you face within you and your family and your role as like a college student with very limited resources. Man, you're being put in a situation where you have to be the advocate for your siblings' well-being, but also for accountability for the adults around you. It's the real issue here seems to be the safety of your brother and the broader responsibility everyone in his life has towards him. Of course, you're hurt by your Nana's inaction, as anyone would, because you're right, like, it's a child. She also may be coping with her own fear. Like, I sympathize with you 1000%, but like, I'm also going to think about it from your grandma's side. Like, she could be coping with her own issues of fear or even helplessness regarding her own daughter's behavior. At the end of the day, protecting your brother is for sure a top priority. And it sounds like you've taken the necessary steps to do so. And I think the physical confrontation you had with your Nana came from a place of frustration and feeling unheard. The fact that she is recovering and maybe in her own vulnerable state is also important to recognize, though it does not invalidate your frustration with her. I hope everything's okay. All right, you guys, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you have a story to share or a dilemma you'd like me to weigh in on, don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, life isn't always black and white. There's beauty in the gray. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep exploring the in-betweens. Bye.